the quiet suburb of Willow Creek, where the streets were lined with identical maple trees and the houses were painted in soft pastels, Elias Thorne lived a life that straddled the line between the ordinary and the unimaginable. At 52, he was the epitome of unremarkable, a balding head crowned with a few stubborn gray hairs, wire-rimmed glasses that perpetually slid down his nose, and a wardrobe consisting entirely of khaki pants and polo shirts in varying shades of beige. He drove a silver Toyota Camry, mowed his lawn every Saturday, and waved to his neighbors with a practiced smile. To the outside world, to the humans who occasionally drove through on their way to the city, Elias was just the property manager of Evergreen Estates, a gated community of about 50 homes where families lived quiet, predictable lives. But Evergreen Estates was no ordinary neighborhood. It was a sanctuary, a carefully constructed facade hiding a world of shadows and secrets. The residents weren't human, at least not in the way most people understood the term. They were monsters, vampires, ghosts, demons, werewolves, succubi, and a smattering of other creatures drawn from the darkest pages of myth and folklore. They had come here to escape the hunters, the inquisitions, and the endless cycle of fear that had plagued their kind for centuries. In Evergreen, they could blend in, hold down jobs, pay their mortgages, and live without the constant threat of exposure. Elias was human, the only one in the estates. And that was by design. The council, a secretive group of elder beings who oversaw sanctuaries like this one across the whole world, had chosen him precisely because he had no supernatural ties. He was neutral ground, a buffer between their world and the human one. His job was simple in theory: enforce the rules, handle maintenance, and ensure that the veil of normalcy remained intact. In practice, it was a daily tightrope walk over an abyss. The rules were sacred, inscribed in an ancient leather-bound book that Elias kept in a locked safe in his home office. There were 13 of them, each one a hard-won lesson from past disasters. Rule 1. Thou shalt not reveal thy true form to any human outside the estates, save for the manager. Rule 2. Feeding, haunting, or possessing shall occur only within designated zones or on approved excursions with proper permits. Rule 3. Disguises must be maintained at all times in public. No lapses, no experiments. Rule 4. No summoning of kin without prior approval from the council. Rule 5. Interactions with humans must mimic normalcy. No undue influence or enchantment. Rule 6. Report any suspicions of rule breakers to the manager immediately, through subtle means. Rule 7. Children of the night must attend mandatory integration classes. Rule 8. No hoarding of relics or artifacts that could draw attention. Rule 9. Waste disposal, bodies, ectoplasm, etc. must follow EPA guidelines, metaphorically speaking. Rule 10. During full moons or solstices, nocturnal entities must abide by their curfews. Rule 11. No pacts with outsiders. All deals are internal. Rule 12. Maintain property value. No visible decay or hauntings. Rule 13. Violation leads to expulsion or worse. Elias had memorized them years ago, back when he first stumbled into this world. It had been a rainy night in 2005, after his real estate business collapsed under the weight of bad loans and worse luck. Divorced and broke, he'd answered a vague ad in the paper. Property manager needed, discretion required, generous compensation. The interview was in a nondescript office building downtown, where a woman with unnaturally pale skin and eyes like black pearls laid it all out. At first, he thought it was a prank. Then she demonstrated, her fingers elongating into claws, her teeth sharpening to points. He signed the contract with shaking hands, binding himself to secrecy on pain of, well, they never specified, but the implications were clear. Now, 2 decades later, Elias started his days with a strong cup of coffee and a review of his clipboard. The estates ran like clockwork most of the time. Mornings involved checking on the younger residents, the children of the night, as the rules called them, who attended the local human school under heavy glamours. Afternoons were for maintenance, fixing a leaky roof that a poltergeist had accidentally haunted, or mediating disputes between neighbors, like the time where a werewolf's midnight howls had disturbed a banshee's sleep schedule. Take Miss Vladimira Kostova, for instance. She lived at 23 Oak Street, in a charming colonial with blood-red shutters. By day, she was a nurse at Willow Creek General Hospital, her vampire nature hidden behind a flawless disguise, sun-kissed skin from a glamour charm, contact lenses to dull her crimson eyes, and veneers over her fangs. She fed on blood bags, pilfered from the hospital's supply, always with a permit filed through Elias. At night, she tended to her garden of night-blooming flowers, whispering ancient lullabies to the petals. Elias had known her for 15 years. She had been one of the first to welcome him with a basket of fresh-baked cookies that tasted faintly metallic. Then there was Mr. Reginald Harrow, the ghost at 15 Pine Lane, a former accountant from the Victorian era. He died in a train accident in 1892 and spent the next century haunting ledgers in abandoned offices. In Evergreen, he solidified his ethereal form into a portly, bespectacled man who worked remotely for a tax firm. His house was always chilly, with furniture that occasionally floated when he got excited about deductions. Reginald was a stickler for the rules, often quoting them verbatim during community meetings. Lilith Foss, the succubus at 31 Birch Avenue, was a barista at the local coffee shop, Brew Haven. She toned down her natural allure to a mere friendly glow, lest she accidentally drain a customer's vitality over a caramel macchiato. Her backstory was tragic. Banished from her infernal realm for refusing a demonic marriage, she'd wandered the human world until finding Evergreen. She was Elias's right-hand lady, often slipping him hints about neighborhood gossip over decaf. The werewolf pack occupied a cluster of homes on Elm Court. Rufus, the mailman, a burly alpha with a mane of red hair. His mate, Selena, a teacher, and their pups, who attended integration classes to control their shifts. Demons like Asmodeus, a lawyer specializing in infernal contracts, corporate law, rounded out the mix. Even rarer beings lurked. A dryad who maintained the communal gardens, a golem mechanic who fixed cars with clay hands. Life was a delicate balance. Elias attended HOA meetings that doubled as council sessions, disguised as book clubs. They discussed everything from property taxes to the latest hunter sightings on the news. The estates were warded with ancient spells, invisible barriers that muddled human memories if they lingered too long. But the real protection came from the vigilance. It was early September when the first signs of change appeared. The air had that crisp edge, leaves just starting to turn. Elias was in his office. A converted garage filled with filing cabinets and a wall of monitors showing security feeds. When the email arrived, new resident application approved. Corbin Shade, arrival, September 15th. The file was standard. Corbin was listed as a lesser demon, born in the shadows of 19th century London, skilled in illusions. He'd fled a purge in Europe, bounced between sanctuaries, and now sought stability as a graphic designer. References checked out, glowing letters from a Paris enclave and a New York hideout. Elias printed the paperwork and added it to his clipboard. New arrivals were always a mix of excitement and anxiety. Integration could take months. On the 15th, a battered black SUV pulled up to 47 Maple Lane. The end unit house that had sat vacant for a year after its previous occupant, a restless spirit, moved on to greener pastures, as they say. Elias watched from his porch, nursing a mug of coffee. The man who emerged was tall and lean, with sharp cheekbones, raven black hair swept back, and the eyes the color of storm clouds. He wore a simple black t-shirt and jeans, moving with a fluid grace that hinted at something more. Elias approached, hand extended. "Mr. Shade, Elias Thorne, your manager. Welcome to Evergreen Estates." Corbin's grip was cool, almost insubstantial, like shaking hands with mist. "Call me Corbin. Pleasure's mine. This place, it's got potential." They toured the house, a split level with a spacious basement, ideal for private rituals. Elias recited the rules as they walked, emphasizing each one. Corbin nodded along, his expression polite but distant, like a student humoring a teacher. "Disguises are key," Elias said, pointing to the mirror in the hallway. "We have classes if you need a refresher." Corbin stared at his reflection, his image flickering for a split second, eyes narrowing to slits before snapping back. "I've got it covered. Blending in is my specialty." Elias left with a welcome packet and a nagging unease. Something about Corbin's smile felt too perfect, too rehearsed. The first week passed uneventfully. Corbin kept to himself, his lights on late into the night. Elias spotted him at the grocery store once, buying staples: bread, milk, candles. Normal enough, but then the hints began, subtle, As per Rule 6, the residents were trained not to accuse directly. Instead, they drop observations like breadcrumbs, letting Elias connect the dots. It started with Miss Vladimira. Elias was collecting monthly dues, funds that went toward wards and community events, when she leaned over her white picket fence, her pruning shears clipping a thorny rosebush.
"Lovely weather we're having,"
she said, with a melodic voice.
"Saw the new neighbor at the market last night. Interesting shopping list. Chalk, black candles, and a live chicken? He said it was for an art installation. The chicken clucked the whole time. Poor thing. Then proof. It was gone from his cart. Must have been a trick of the light."
Elias jotted it down on his clipboard, masking his concern with a nod. "Thanks for the heads up. I'll check in on him." Chalk and candles could be for illusions, Corbin's specialty, but the chicken? That smacked of old school summoning. Rule 4 territory, feeding without a permit, perhaps Rule 2. Elias filed it away, deciding to observe. Next came Reginald. During a routine audit, Elias checked ethereal residues to ensure no hauntings leaked beyond the wards. Reginald materialized in his living room, his translucent form solidifying into his usual portly shape. He adjusted his spectral tie.
"Tea,"
he offered, gesturing to a pot that steamed despite no heat source. "No thanks," Elias said, scanning the room with a handheld detector, a council gadget that buzzed near supernatural anomalies. "Everything in order?" Reginald flickered slightly.
"Mostly. But I was phasing through the park last night. Insomnia. You know, and overhead, the new chap on his phone thought he was alone. Mentioned summoning reinforcements for the feast. Joking, perhaps. His aura feels ravenous. Not like a lesser demon. More like something older."
Elias's pen hovered. Auras weren't tangible evidence, but Reginald's instincts were sharp. Summoning without approval. Another potential violation. The hints accumulated slowly, like drips from a leaky faucet. Lilith pulled Elias aside at the community potluck, a monthly event where residents shared human-friendly dishes, blood sausage for the vampires, soul cakes for the ghosts. She handed him a plate of cookies, her touch warm and inviting, though she kept her succubus charm reined in.
"That Corbin?"
she whispered, glancing across the room where he chatted with the werewolf pack.
"He came into Brewhaven yesterday. Ordered a black coffee, no sugar. Flirted a bit, harmless, but his eyes shifted for a moment. Vertical pupils like a serpent's. And the customer next to him left looking dazed, like he'd lost a bit of spark. I had to slip him an energy boost in his latte."
Elias frowned. Rule 3, disguises maintained. Rule 5, no undue influence. Keep an eye out, subtly. Rufus the mailman was next. Delivering Elias's bills, he lingered on the porch, his nostrils flaring.
"Delivered a package to 47 today. Door creaked open on its own. Sucked the box right in. Smelled like sulfur mixed with rot. Not your standard demon whiff. Stronger, wilder, like something feral."
Elias added it to the growing file. The poltergeist kids, ethereal tweens who haunted the playground after dark, giggled their reports during a candy sale fundraiser.
Mr. Shade's house glows funny at night,
One said, phasing through Elias's mailbox.
like angry fireflies buzzing around the windows.
By mid-October, the leaves had turned fiery orange, and the hints had become a steady stream. Elias's office wall was papered with notes, odd scents, flickering shadows, humans in town complaining of vivid nightmares after driving past the estates. One resident, a dryad named Silva, reported her trees wilting near Corbin's yard, as if drained of life force. Elias began his own surveillance. Late nights, he'd park his Camry down the street, binoculars in hand. Corbin's basement light flickered erratically, shadows dancing like living things. Faint chants drifted on the wind, guttural words that made Elias's skin crawl. He dreamed of tentacles coiling in the dark, whispering promises of power and freedom. Still, no concrete proof. Corbin was careful, always in his human disguise during the day. He even attended an integration class, demonstrating illusion spells that woed the younger monsters. But Elias noticed how the room grew colder in his presence, how eyes darted away. A subplot emerged with Asmodeus, the demon lawyer, his hellhound Brim, a loyal beast the size of a pony disguised as a Great Dane, went missing one evening. Asmodeus stormed to Elias's door, his human form crackling to reveal horns. "My pup. He's never wandered far. Last seen near Maple Lane." Searches turned up nothing at first. Then days later, Rufus found the corpse in the woods bordering the estates, desiccated, like a husk sucked dry.
No marks,
Rufus growled.
but that scent, same as before.
Hints pointed to Corbin, a neighbor seeing him walk the woods that night, another hearing muffled howls cut short. Elias confronted subtly, visiting under pretense of a neighborhood survey. Corbin's house was impeccable. Modern furniture, abstract art on the walls, no signs of altars or summons. "Settling in?" Elias asked, eyes scanning. Corbin poured tea, his movements graceful.
Absolutely. This place is a revelation. No more hiding in sewers or attics. But tell me, Elias, don't you ever feel constrained by all these rules? We're superior beings, after all.
Elias stiffened. "The rules keep us safe." Corbin's smile widened.
Safe or shackled?
That night, Elias's dreams intensified. Visions of the estates in flames, monsters ruling openly. He woke sweating, a shadow lingering in his mirror. November brought chill winds and escalating incidents. A vampire child, little Anya, came home from school with bruises, not from bullies, but invisible pushes near Corbin's yard. Her mother hissed.
The air felt wrong, like grasping hands.
Then, during a full moon curfew, Rufus reported howls from 47. Not a werewolf, but something primal. Elias sneaked closer, peering through bushes. In the basement, Corbin morphed partially, skin rippling, tentacles emerging, eyes multiplying. Small imps scampered, summoned illegally. Proof, at last. But as Elias retreated, a voice whispered in his mind.
Watching me, human? Join the feast.
Panic set in. Elias called an emergency council meeting, disguised as a Thanksgiving planning session. In the basement, under flickering fluorescent lights, elders gathered.
There's no lesser demon,
Ellie, the elf chairwoman, said, her bark-like skin creaking.
His power grows, he's testing us.
Count Draven, the vampire elder, nodded.
Expel him before he exposes us all.
But Corbin was one step ahead. On Halloween, when disguises blurred with costumes, the climax hit. Screams echoed from Maple Lane. Elias ran, finding neighbors gathered, true forms peeking through. Inside Corbin's house, horror unfolding. Walls pulsed like veins, floors writhed. Corbin stood revealed, the Devourer, an ancient entity of chaos. Body a mass of shifting flesh, tentacles, eyes.
I infiltrated your pathetic haven,
He boomed.
to free you from cowardice. We are gods. Why hide?
Summoned imps swarmed, a drained, human delivery man slumped in the corner. The residents fought back, vampires lunging, ghosts phasing through foes, demons hurling fire. Elias, clutching his book, recited the expulsion rite. Words of power echoed, tearing Corbin apart. In his final throes, he lashed a tentacle, injecting essence into Elias.
You'll see the hunger within.
The Devourer vanished in shadow. Cleanup was swift, memories altered, body disposed. Peace returned, but Elias felt different. Cravings for darkness, shadows obeying his thoughts. Residents hinted.
Mr. Thorne looks changed.
Staring at his reflection, Elias saw slits in his eyes. The manager was becoming something more. For now, the estates endured, but the hunger grew.